I want to meet you. I want to meet the you inside of you. The you inside of you that will not be denied. The overlooked you, the disrespected you. The you inside of you. The overcomer you. The refuse to quit you. The in spite of you. The against all odds you. The even though I'm sick, I go anyway you.
Finding that 7600. I'm Damion.
I'm Xavier.
And as you've been watching, we've been recapping just our life over the years, going back to time from when Xavier was first born, to his aunt sharing her insight on our relationship and the things that she saw and all that good stuff. So now we come to the point of where in our conversation, the last 1.5 episode, it was actually me sharing a little bit of insight about me and everything that came into making me the man I am, and some of the reasoning why, like what was going on in my life behind the scenes when it came down to raising Xavier. My sister brought up the comment. She made a comment about the little sillies along the way. The little sillies that she was referring to were the relationships that weren't really relationships, I guess. I dated some people that were too young. I dated some that were too old. And then I just dated some that were just too way out. So with the little sillies that she was referring to, those relationships that were almost, they had a major impact, whether we acknowledge it or not, for me especially. I think about like when it came down to Xavier, the one thing that was always interesting to me was, some people would actually try and actively insert themselves in his life, and not necessarily take on the role of a mother, but I don't know, what would you call it? There was someone who would just try and be cool with him. It was just interesting because a lot of the women that I dealt with, some of them never met my kids, and then those were those ones that where like they met them, and it was almost like they tried to do the whole cool thing, and I saw through it, the facade, time and time again. I think one of the something I regret, and that was actually involving Xavier in living with someone. And it was one of those things where we did it with good intentions because it was going to put him in a better school system and everything. But I think ultimately, I don't know. I don't even really know because we never really talked about it. How did that play out for you? I don't know. That was your freshman year in high school.
Freshman year in high school, went to a school that I did not want to go to.
No, actually, that was your sophomore year. Yeah, freshman year you went to.
It was the end of my freshman year of high school.
Yeah.
End of freshman year was ending a bad freshman year. Ultimately, I was around some kids that a child I did not like, and bumped heads with the child, and I also witnessed a relationship that was, in my eyes, terrible and not healthy. But I did not even, it wasn't much to say, just I didn't like the child. That was the biggest thing, the child. So I just tried to stay away from the house as much as possible. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. And that relationship came to an end, and we were on our own for a while.
That was quick.
It was quick.
It was quick.
Took us over a year. It was over a year. Yeah.
But it was the bachelor pad. was supposed to be the bachelor pad. The bachelor pad came to an end after some shenanigans. So
Something wrong with you. But you know what? You know what? There was a relationship that I was in that was interesting because I got involved in this relationship with this what I call a super Christian, and the funny thing is, no matter how much I think back on this relationship, the dysfunction of it was the fact that this individual wasn't true to herself. So, you know, it is what it is now. I mean, it was a situation where I will never forget. Met at church, and she had children of her own. We got involved with one another, got involved in each other's lives and everything. Our kids went to the same school at the time, so we were helping each other out as far as picking up the kids and you know, making sure after school homework was being done and a meal was being prepared for them and everything like that. And in that relationship, the one thing that always stood out the most to me was just the fact that, you know, people are who they are, and when they show you who they are, you have to accept it. And you know, the same thing goes for me. I am who I am, and when you see who I am, you have to accept it. I looked at this individual as like, okay, great person, and this was from what I saw on the surface. They looked at me as a guy, you know, that was a responsible dad, but they were looking to change me for who I was, my character, and everything like that. Most folks, I'm not one of those people that everybody would like to be around. The reality of it is, to some people I'm rude, to some people I have very crass humor, or, you know, whatever the case may be, but at the end of the day, that's who I am. I don't have to change myself to be with anyone. And what she was looking for was someone to change to be this walk on water type of guy. The thing I didn't like about it was we had actually experienced a pregnancy. And it was one of those things where once we found out she was pregnant, oh man, she was gung-ho and pushing for us to get married. Shortly after, she lost the baby. And after she lost the baby, then it turned into this whole situation where I needed to be married to Jesus and all this crazy stuff that I had never heard of or read in the Bible ever a day in my life. My whole thing was, here it is, you were willing to engage in sexual activity, but the moment that something came forth where it could possibly expose the fact that you were in a sexual relationship and being a quote-unquote Christian or going to a church, then you wanted to cover it all up by getting married quickly. But once that kid died, man, it was like, oh well, you know, back to normal. And to be honest with you, I was in a weird place at that point in time. I know Xavier was cool with the idea of us being a family at that point, and I just think it was one of those things where we had been alone for quite some time, and he got along with her kids, but it was a situation of where, like, my overall thinking was, I'm glad that the baby passed because I dodged a bullet. And a lot of it just came down to that indecisiveness and just that willing to go above and beyond to show people on the outside something that wasn't. And that was briefly, you know, it was one of those things where I look at that was a brief relationship.
it wasn't the fact I was not about no family stuff. I didn't even care for her. She was just an adult to me. I liked her kids. That was it. Like, I didn't see her as, oh, she's about to be my mom. None of that. No. She was just an adult, and I liked her kids. They were funny and cool to hang around to me, so there was nothing extra about it. That was simple. But you go ahead, continue.
So time's going on. We're in the quote-unquote bachelor pad, as Xavier put it. I will never forget, like, when we first got in there, this dude was happy. And that was the happiest I had seen him in a long time. And it was, we had some good times in that place, actually. And just being able to have our own space and And then I made the mistake of allowing the wrong person in my life. But again, you know, I put the blame on me just because somebody comes into your space doesn't mean that you have to allow them, you know, to run amok or run interference in what you got going on.
I can't blame him though. He did treat it like a bachelor pad. I found a condom in the toilet a couple times. Condoms. Used protection until one time. But, you know.
Still, yeah.
But it was the bachelor pad. That was the place. That was the spot. After school, the spot. Well, for me and my friends. I don't know about him. But yeah.
I mean, at that time, well, a lot of my friends, they weren't in that area. So that was another thing. The company I was keeping was late nights.
Booty calls.
It was not booty calls. It was more or less just. Cause I don't even think. No, I was working a lot. I was working a lot at that time. It was funny because I will never forget that time he did find a condom in the toilet. I was out, and I think I was out on a date with somebody, and this dude texted me a picture. You sent me a picture of the condom in the toilet, which was interesting just because up until that time, I don't think I had ever done anything to. No, you knew I was having sex. Yeah, you did, because you were nosy. Xavier was a nosy kid, man. This dude would go through drawers and everything. Yeah, because when we were living, yeah. That's why his lips jumping.
It wasn't like that.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't. Whenever I go through stuff, I'm looking for one particular thing. And when I'm looking for something, I find multiple things. So I'm like, what is going on right now? So when I see one thing that's super curious, that makes me curious, I just look for other things.
He keeps looking, right.
What else you got going on around here? So
this dude found my condom stash.
I was looking for a pen. He always has pens. I don't have pens like that.
Okay. He's in school. He's looking through my drawers and then finds condoms. And then his way of bringing stuff up would be like this. So, what do you use condoms for? And I'm like, dude, what do you mean? Why are you in my stuff? No, yeah, it was, at that point in time in my life, I was lonely. I really was lonely. And it was one of those things where we were getting our footing financially. You know, we're at that point where it's like our needs were met. For those that know me, you know, they know I'm a cook. Love to entertain, love to have a good time and everything like that. And I linked up with a group and was doing some work with them, and me and one of the individuals from the group connected. And it was one of those situations where, you know, I think sometimes we meet people for all the right reasons, but we interpret it the wrong way. And that's what it was. So from that situation spawned another situation that, it was brought to my attention that there was going to be a child conceived from the relationship. And for those that know me, know the ups and downs of being a single parent and everything like that. My daughters weren't raised in the house with me, and I was just at that point in the mindset of I'm not raising another kid outside the home. So if this is what I've done, I'm gonna be man enough to own up to it and take care of my responsibilities head on. And it's one of those things where got married and pretty much destroyed the bachelor pad and just the things that we had going on in our life, and even the plans.
He got married on a random October day. Who does that?
I mean, it is what it is.
Just came home. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm married. Like what? That didn't sound right. What?
That's what it was. So as time went on, we all moved in together, and yeah, from there, it's like, to me, it was just all downhill. It was all downhill. No matter what the facade that was put out there, I don't even think it really was a facade. It's just like on social media, you get to see an aspect of a person's life and you run with the rest of it. So I can post a picture of us smiling and people will say, man, they're having a great time. And the reality of it is behind the smile, all hell is breaking loose and going on. So unfortunately, a lot of people portrayed that relationship to be this love-filled relationship, and it wasn't that at all. It is what it is. It was a sexual relationship, and when you got something that comes out of it and you try and make it into something it's not, then you get the results that you got. From that, it turned to, a thing of where there was a lot of pressure on me. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, trying to hold things together mentally, and at the same time trying to, get this guy out of high school and on his way in life. And it was just a lot. And one day I get a phone call at work, and it's just, hey, Xavier's doing this, and he won't give me his phone, and I'm like, okay, it's the end of the work day, and I said, well, let me speak to him, and she's like, well, she puts him on the phone. I said, dude, just give me your phone, and I'll be there shortly. And he was like, no. And I was like, okay, I'm on my way. And at that point in time, I don't think he, right, okay. At that point in time, it was one of those things where he's a kid. He's not supposed to know what's going on behind the scenes. But it was just a lot. And I snapped. And I went after him. And not even realizing that the reality of it was, the individual that I was married to didn't have that type of relationship with him, for one. Two, the way that she was accustomed to talking to her child was not our way. I'm not an emotional person like that. We don't do all that screaming, hollering, and yelling. And we never had that type of relationship before. So you subject your child to something like that, of course you're going to get a different response. So things take an ugly turn for us, and he's staying at my mom's house. And
You ain't gonna go through the whole story?
we can go through the whole story.
No, I'm gonna tell my side. Alright, so we get to the house. Not even gonna get to the house. She picks me up from school. How's your day? Good. How's your day? Just talking. Not even. I have my headphones in. Next thing you know, I hear someone saying, or hear her saying, alright, write down 10 places you want to work. I'm like, alright, sure, I got you. 5 minutes later, you write them down? No, I do not got you. Because I didn't care what she wanted me to do. So I'm like, who are you, lady? So, she's like, so you're not going to do that? I'm like, no. Continue to listen to my music, look out the window. And then her daughter's in the front seat. So, time passes. I think she was still talking still. I think I had my music. And we get to the house. She's talking about she's going to tell my dad some stuff. And then she's like, give me your phone. I don't know this lady like that to just be like, oh yeah, fine, you could take my phone. I even like giving my phone to teachers. So a lady that I stay with, a woman that my dad just married, not even a whole month yet, like a week or two, and it's like, you're not my mom, you're just someone. So I'm not gonna give you my phone, or it was just, I didn't respect her, I guess, on that level. And she calls my dad up, hey, he's not giving me his phone. And he's like, let me talk to him. And he's already on speaker at this point, and he tried to talk to me, hey, so you're not gonna do what she's telling you? I'm like, no. And this time I have a truck. We bought a truck for me. So he's like, all right, bet. I'll be there shortly. I'm like, okay then. Come on. I ain't say come on, but I was like, okay. And she was like, well, all right. And they hang up. She looks at me and is like, well, you're not coming into the house and until your dad gets here. I'm like, what? I'm like, all right, fine. I got a truck in the garage. So I'm like, I don't need the house. What you talking about? I wish I had the keys. But I wish I had the keys. I would have pulled it off. But I went in the truck, started doing my homework. I was doing my homework. I was in the mood. Next thing I know, this guy comes in. I was getting it done. This guy comes in.
Wait, pause. That's the thing. He had not been doing his homework on the regular.
No. But
up until this day. Go ahead.
Sometimes you feel like doing things that you don't do on the regular.
Doesn't make sense, but okay, go ahead.
Doesn't make sense. Sometimes you don't eat ice cream, right? Other times you have urge to eat ice cream.
I said things you're supposed to be doing.
Okay, but I'm saying things you want to do and things you don't, you should do. Right?
Ice cream has nothing to do with things.
But you shouldn't be eating ice cream, but you eat it anyway. Whatever, man. Shut up. All right, so back to what I'm talking about. Rudely interrupted. So he comes in, busts in the door like he's some hero. Just, boom. I'm like, I look up, and he's all up in he's in my space, talking about, so you're not gonna do what you're told. I'm like, no. Next thing you know, he puts his hands on me. Woo! Automatic no. First strike. I'm like, stop touching me. Like, what are you doing? I'm minding my business. What you doing? This dude hits me. I don't even know how he hit me this second time. But he tried to grab me out the truck. I'm like, dude, stop touching me. And then, see, he started the physical altercation. And
finish telling your story.
Thank you, because I was about to say, I don't start physical altercations. And then, he grabs me out the truck, starts pushing me out, and it's like, get your stuff. I'm like, whew, okay. And we start heading out. The door, he continues to put his hands on me. Next thing you know, we in the front lawn, squaring up. I tell you, boy, we squaring up. Man, he tried to push me. It was like, oh. I was like, get off me, you bitch. Man, at that moment, I was just erupting at the mouth, man. I was going crazy. And he was like, oh, I'm a bitch, right? I'm a bitch. I'm like, yes, you are. And I had every time I play the moment in my head, I had this moment. I could have knocked this man out in his jaw.
Yeah, right.
But
it'd been the last day
for him. But
right.
Because I've never been in an altercation. You know, I could have blacked out just going crazy.
That don't even make sense.
That's how it goes. When you don't do things, sometimes you just black out and it goes crazy.
Foolishness of youth.
Okay. I could have went crazy on this man. But anyway.
Yeah, go off of actuality.
I could have hit him in the face.
Again, go off of actuality.
I could have hit him in the face.
Did you hit me?
I could have hit him in the face.
Go off of actuality.
Instead, I ignored this man. And you know what? You're right. Actuality. This man was crazy. He is a crazy mother sucker. And he's very crazy because I walk away. This guy comes up with a car, starts chasing me down the street. I'm walking towards someone else's house because it's a one-way street. This guy pulls up in on their curb. I'm like, what are you doing?
Whose curb?
People at the end of the street. Like right there on the corner at the light. Or whatever.
You're by the woods.
No. And then I'm like, what are you doing? Leave me alone. He's all yelling. And then I'm like, shut up, you pussy whip nigga. And he's like, I'm pussy whip. What? By that moment, man, when I say I hit a nerve when I said that, that man went crazy. He got in the car. He tried to hit me. I don't know what he was on, but he got in the car, went all the way around, like so fast. I'm in the woods by this moment. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to call my aunt up. I'm like, I'm like, Aunt Keisha, come get me away from here. I don't want to be here no more. She's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? I'm like, man, they crazy. I don't want to be here. So she's coming. She's flying. She's coming from Chicago. And I'm in the woods trying to just, I don't even know, I'm just walking away still. By this time, I'm bawling in the face. I'm just crying. And my dad pulls up. He's like, oh, he's just talking all this big stuff. Then, next thing you know, all I see is the lady, she pulls up. I'm like, what? Where did she, like, in my head, I'm like, what is she doing here? But at the moment, I'm like, they're still by me. Why are they bothering me? You know? Because I'm like, they're overdoing this whole situation by so much. So, I'm still on the phone with my aunt for a while, and my dad's yelling. She hears him yelling in the background, and you hear the other lady talking about she gonna turn my phone off. I'm like, I look, like, on the phone, I'm like, nonsense. And I find this little path and I sneak off, because by this time, she kind of gets my dad settled down somehow, and I just walk away. And I'm on this hill, I'm looking over, and I see people drive. I see her driving. I saw her drive once or twice going by. I don't know if they were looking for me or nothing, but I waited until my aunt and I saw her. I escaped. I survived my situation. My second time.
So anyway, so all that went down. He goes and stays with my mom. And by this time, what is it? It's getting closer to the time the baby's born. It's in February. And from there, what was it, March? Between March and April, receive paperwork about paternity testing. And this is where you know, some of the stuff that has been put out there is just straight up just trash. So it was said that I married her knowing that this child wasn't mine. Not true. It was said that I forced her into marrying me. Not true. Foolishness. Any of my friends that know me for real, they'll tell you that it's been known I didn't want to have any more kids. It was known that that was never a must for me. And when it was brought to my attention, you know, the thing that I did was I trusted this woman in believing that this baby was mine. After we went to the doctor and they gave the date of conception, that's when it was like, okay. She's like, yeah, this is yours. Go through the whole thing of paternity testing. She was trying to fight it. Now, what's crazy is in the state of Indiana, you have to sign an affidavit at the time of birth if you're the father of a child. And basically, the affidavit is stating that you agree that this is your child and it can stand up in court. Even if someone's proven to be their father, if the affidavit is signed, you're legally responsible. Now, I signed that affidavit. I was there for the birth of the baby, cut the umbilical cord, all that, and helped name the child. But here it is, when it comes down to it, she could not find the affidavit. Couldn't find it for anything. Time goes on, you know, they continued the case a couple of times, and then the judge was like, enough's enough, we're going to do paternity testing. And I was like, okay, it's all good, because I'm going off of your word, so it's nothing to be upset about. And test takes place, and I think it was end of June, beginning of July. Come home one day, and the paperwork comes in, and it shows that I was not the father. At that moment in time, I just felt Just no. Already going back and forth out of town looking for a place down in Florida and looking for a job in Florida and everything like that. So August is, I find a job, I submit my 2-week notice. August 31st is my last day at work. August 31st is also the day that I go to court and sign off my rights as the father to this child. And from there, I was pretty much on cruise control. And from there, it was like, truth be told, I felt devastated because I felt like I was duped in the situation. And it's like, okay, for, all the certainty and surety that it was told to me, like, this is you, for it to come out and play out the way it was, I felt like, okay, this is some trash. But, it is what it is. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to move forward. Move to Florida. As time goes on, I'm there by myself. Some things happen with her and her family, and she's out of the house, and then she's in Florida. And right before we left, or before I left, there was a situation that took place between her daughter and I, and it actually stemmed from a situation that took place between her and her daughter. And I was just trying to reinforce what her mom said, and that got ugly. And for the first time ever, I'm investigated for child abuse. And the way that all played out, this little girl's father's calling me talking shit. And I'm like, at that point, I'm like, I don't have nothing to lose. My son's not there. Here it is. I'm in a marriage in a sham of a marriage. It wasn't based off of love. It was based off of the situation. And for anybody to think elsewise, you gotta be a fucking idiot to think that. Because let's be for real, if we weren't dating actively, if we weren't in a loving relationship that played out in front of the world beforehand, then a kid comes into play and you're getting married, it's like, that's a no-brainer what took place. So moving forward, moved down to Florida. The investigation takes place, meet with the investigator. They were like, they didn't find me at fault. Moved to Florida, we get down there, and it's just like a house of misery. And one day we're riding, and she asked me the question, why did I marry her? And because of the baby. That's why. And she broke down crying, and I'll never forget. And I'm trying to figure out, like, what did you possibly think it was? Like, I had love for her as a friend, but, like, to be like, no, it was this romantic thing. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't. And that's the truth. I remember calling up a friend of mine, Richard, out in California, and by this time it's like November, December. It was December because I lost a job I took down in Florida November 28th. They were like, yeah, it's not working out. And I'm like, yep. And they said, well, clearly you see things on the see things eye to eye with this because you're not even trying to fight this. I was like, I don't believe in fighting for anything, especially when it comes down to a job. There's so many other jobs out there, and it just wasn't worth it to me. And it's like December, and I remember telling Richard, I was like, yeah, man, I don't want this life. And at that point in time, I was at a point where I was really contemplating like murder-suicide. And I remember sending messages to my kids saying that, hey, I just want you all to know that I love you all. And, that's it.
That was the scariest message that all of us got because my older sister, she called me and she was like, hey, did you get that message? I was like, yeah. What did you think? And we were just like, we think he's going to kill himself. And maybe, that whole situation down there, like, that you're just going to end it all and then just, like, end himself. But, yeah, that was just weird. And he was fat at that time. He's not going to say that, but he was fat. He gained some weight. 200 almost.
So I talked to Richard, and the whole thing was, I'll never forget telling him, yeah, man, I don't want this life. And he was like, fine, that's a good thing. You don't have to have it. And at that time, I don't think that he understood what I was saying. I was actually talking about ending it all. And he was saying just the fact that when it comes down to a relationship, when it comes down to a marriage, if the terms change, you can always go back to the table to renegotiate. He said, so just because, things change, it doesn't mean that it has to be the end of you. But, if it's the end of the relationship, so be it.
I want to meet you. I want to meet the you inside of you. The you inside of you that will not be denied. The overlooked you, the disrespected you. The you inside of you. The overcomer you. The refuse to quit you. The in spite of you. The against all odds you. The even though I'm sick, I go anyway you. The knock down you, but the get back up you. All I'm trying to say is I want to meet the awesome you.
Be awesome.
You know you're awesome.
You're awesome.
Yeah, you.
Be awesome.
You're fearfully and wonderfully made. God makes no mistakes.
Be awesome.
You're awesome.
You're awesome.
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Why do you stare into the camera?
I'm not even staring into the camera.
But you be staring.
Where else are you supposed to look?
No, you just, don't even say nothing, you just stare.
Where am I supposed to look? What am I supposed to do?
At least act normal, something.
That is normal.
No, it's terrible.
If you're looking at a camera, you're supposed to look into it.
That's how you be looking, just don't look into the camera like
Show me how to look into the camera then.
that. Just look.
That's what I'm doing right
No,
now.
you don't.
Okay.
Right now, but
Because I'm literally leaning forward.
but you're still staring. You didn't even blink. I watched you. You did not blink for 5 seconds. That's staring.
Okay. You ready? Yeah, put your phone down.
Go through the whole story. First off, I think, I don't know, if it's if you're supposed to have one type of relationship with your child or whatever, and someone new comes into the picture, I feel like you should tell them what's going on behind the scenes, because sure, they may treat them a certain way, but at the same time, as long as if something happens between you and the person that fell out, you could still be close to your child,
What were you talking about?
because you said I'm a child or a kid, I should know what's going on behind the scenes, right? I don't know, maybe I should.
No, because it's some of the stuff that was going on behind the scenes. It was dealing with issues of finance. It was dealing with issues of where it's it was some things that were supposed to take place, whether it be with work, at that time I was doing radio, some of the stuff that was going on in the relationship itself. It was things that where it's it really wasn't for you to know about all that.
If you a little tense, let me know. Ooh, alright, I got you. I'll back off with some certain things, but we did have a little falling through. This dude put his hands on me. I don't play that game. He real life. Tell a story, man. Tell your side. Now.
Say it. A-W-E-S-O-M-E. Yes, sir. I'm A-W-E-S-O-M-E. Yeah. A-W-E-S-O-M-E. Check it out. A-W-E-S-O-M-E. Say it. A-W.